So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series, offered in partnership with Access Employment. This industry-specific web conference for internationally educated professionals looking to start their business in Canada is being offered as our last webinar of the year. Note that this is also being recorded and posted on our website for those who cannot attend in person or if you have to leave early. So my name is Ramya Ramanathan. I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant Magazine, and I'm joined by my colleague Laura Jackman, who manages marketing for Canadian Immigrant. So before we get started, we just want to share a short video from one of our sponsors. Laura, please go ahead. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that. So once again, thanks again to our sponsors for their support of these web conferences. Now let's get started. So I'm thrilled to introduce our first speaker joining us today. We've had Catherine before. Was it last year, Catherine? Or we've had you before, and we're delighted to have you here again. Catherine is from Access Employment, and she's the manager of entrepreneurship connections at the organization. So as usual, if you have questions for Catherine, please type them in the Q&A box or the chat box, and we will answer them at the end of Catherine's presentation. You can also email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So Catherine, please go ahead. You have a PowerPoint to share, so go ahead, share it. And okay, great.
I will do. Thank you, Ramya and Laura, for inviting me and including me today. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, wherever you may be joining from. Thrilled to be presenting today. And the goal of this presentation is to talk to you a bit about what is business in Canada and how to go about going through the process of pursuing entrepreneurship, your own personal readiness, and then other steps that you would take to think about launching a business in Canada. So it's an overview. And the hope is to give you an idea and motivation and get you excited about starting a business in Canada. And then perhaps you will enroll in the program we have at Access, and we would love to have you join us. So yes, I do have a slide deck, which I'm now going to share. Yeah, this is the right one. I need to put it into presentation mode. Good?
Yes.
Great. Okay. And then I need to do one more thing. Presenter view. What? Right. Okay. Looks good? Okay, thank you. Great. So before I get started with the presentation, just to tell you a little bit about Access, we are an organization that did start very small, grassroots. We now have 7 sites across Toronto, throughout the GTA. And our focus is to support job seekers connecting to the labor market. So whether they are newcomers to Canada or grew up around the corner from one of our offices, we offer some level of support to everyone, although we are known for working with newcomers. And the entrepreneurship program falls within that as self-employment. So connecting to the labor market through starting your own business in this case. So every year, Access works with over 44,000 job seekers. And just to focus a bit more on entrepreneurship, since we have started our program in 2012, we have supported over 2,500 newcomer entrepreneurs connecting to business and the entrepreneurship landscape and launching a business in Canada. So again, not going to talk about this for long, but just for you to realize that everything we do at Access is focused primarily on employment. So whether that's job search support or making connections for employers or with employers, what we are really known for are our bridging programs, which maybe as it sounds is they are intended as programs to bridge internationally trained professionals who have work experience in their own country before coming to Canada, and to reconnect them to that career without having to start all over again. So that's really what we're known for. And the Entrepreneurship Connections program sort of follows this model, and I will be explaining it more fully in a little bit. We are funded by, the Entrepreneurship Connections program is funded by the federal government, but other programs at Access are funded by the Ontario government and City of Toronto and the United Way. I don't think I need to do this. You're taking care of all that for me. But here's our agenda. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be ready for entrepreneurship, and then go through the specifics of what is a business plan, why it's important to write it, some of the other things you need to consider as you're starting a business, resources, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurship programs at Access. So first of all, let's get started and give some consideration to, are you ready to start a business? When it comes to exploring the entrepreneurial journey, the first question you need to think about really is personally, are you ready? Is this the right time for you to launch a business? So we think first about personal readiness. What is the work experience? What has been your life experience to date? And are you personally ready? And then business viability. So do you have a viable business idea? So let's first look at personal readiness. So understanding the attributes of a successful entrepreneur can help you explore your own goals and desires to become an entrepreneur. When it comes to that, reflecting on whether you have these attributes, thinking about whether you're ready, you might give some consideration. Did you grow up in a family of entrepreneurs? Does your family have a small business? Is it something that's kind of already in your DNA? Have you operated your business or a family business? And then to give some considerations of the pros and cons of running a business, your own personal motivation to pursue the business and knowing everything that entails. How are you working independently? Being an entrepreneur, of course, is a solo, it can be a really solo venture, can be kind of lonely at sometimes, and you need to sort of have that perseverance to stick at it in spite of some barriers and hurdles that inevitably will come along. And then lastly, do you have that passionate ability to sell? Do you have a sales background? Do you have the passion to sell your own product that you can pitch your business to others? There's a lot of personal attributes involved. So to help you with this process, I'd like to introduce you to Business Development Bank of Canada. They are the only they are the only bank in Canada that is solely focused on supporting entrepreneurs in Canada. And as part of their resources that they make available to their own clients, they also have on their website an entrepreneurship toolkit. It's a drop-down menu on their homepage. And included in that is an entrepreneurial self-assessment. So it's just a quick little 10-minute quiz that you would do for yourself. The results, of course, only come to you, and it's just for your own consideration. It shouldn't be a make or break in deciding whether you want to become an entrepreneur, but it does focus on what motivates you to start a business. Do you have that drive, that ambition to do that? Are you self-sufficient? What are your aptitudes? And as I mentioned on the last slide, what is your perseverance in the face of obstacles? I know that perseverance and resilience, it really comes up a lot when we talk to newcomers about relaunching their career in Canada, or in this case, launching a business as an entrepreneur. But it really cannot be understated how you have to have your personal drive, and you are a force moving ahead in spite of whatever obstacles might come your way. So doing that little self-assessment quiz might be one way to kind of do a little personal check on your readiness. And then you want to consider your business viability. The first would be, what is the market? So start by asking yourself, is there a market for the business or service that I'm offering? Who might be your ideal customer? How do you reach them? Have you ever sold that particular product or service? And do you understand its position in the marketplace? And do you understand that in Canada, that might be different? You might have more or less competitors comparing it to where that product or service might have been positioned in the country you came from. I mean, a lot of newcomers start a business in Canada because they come to Canada and look around and realize that something that is so popular and widely available in their own country before coming to Canada is nowhere in Canada. So they see that as a gap in the market, but also a great opportunity. So that's, you still need to do the research to see what your competition might be here in Canada. And then also to consider what trends might affect your market. So thinking of, if I take the example of a candle making business, candles are very popular. Everybody loves candles. But what trends might affect the popularity of candles? So with the environmental and sustainability movement, you see soy candles that are on the marketplace that are healthier and better for your internal environment. You also see candle companies that they sell refills to their candle holders so that the candle holder itself doesn't become garbage once the candle has burned. So you need to consider where your product or service sits in the marketplace and what trends might affect it. And also the seasonality of a product. So coming back to the candle, the candle company, if you think of candles being a great gift that might be given during the holiday gift giving season, would you then sort of soft launch your business during the summer months, get up and running, so that by the time fall comes around, you're positioned to jump onto pop-up holiday markets that might be happening throughout the GTA? I should pause. I know I speak very quickly. I think I should slow down a bit. My apologies if I'm racing. Okay, so next we want to further think about business viability and think about the resources you need to start your business. So you've determined there's opportunity, it's a great idea, but then what about money? What are your startup costs going to be? Do you consider that you're going to self-finance, or would you need to look at external financing opportunities? That's the case. We're going to come back to that and talk about that in a little bit. But also to give consideration to time. Many entrepreneurs, when they first start their business, they maintain a full-time job. They are working on their own business on the side, and the dream and the goal is that they become fully self-employed. They can quit their full-time job and pursue self-employment. But in the interim, you're doing both jobs. So do you have the time and the ability to focus on that? And then, of course, contacts. What is your network like? What people do you know who can support you in the business and provide you with advice? Where do you look for potential customers? Have you figured out who your potential customer is? So people, contacts, customers, as well as your support network that's going to help you grow the business. Now, of course, you need to think about the skills and experience you bring to the table in order to successfully launch your business. Do you have the ability, the background, the knowledge to launch this business? Do you have the industry experience? And expertise often dictates the ease of success in your business. So for example, an experienced chef or a restaurant manager would have a greater chance of success in launching a catering business than perhaps a software engineer who is interested in food. So what sort of knowledge and expertise do you bring that will ensure your success? On the next few slides, we are going to talk about a business plan. So if you are first of all thinking, what is a business plan and is it necessary? We need to hit the brakes and we really need to talk about this. Business plan is so vitally important. It is the roadmap for your business. Held within your business plan are all of your goals and how you plan to achieve them. The plan contains the answers to the questions of who, what, where, why, how, who is your customer, where are they, why do they want your product, and how are you going to make money. So we're going to go into that a little bit further. But the business plan also, in laying out the business plan, you're going to test and prove the viability of your business idea. And it will provide you with your vision, your goals, your benchmarks, your timelines that are going to move you forward in your business. Studies have shown that a business plan increases the chance of business success and reduces risk. If you think of a business plan as being something like, the roadmap, that's constantly evolving, you're constantly changing it and updating it depending on where you are in your business. In the same way that a job seeker's resume is constantly evolving and changing depending on the needs, it's not a fixed static document. You want to consider that a business plan is constantly changing, and it is your roadmap forward. So it can take a long time to complete a business plan. We're not going to go into all of the details, but just generally, the idea is, I will come back to the executive summary, but that in a business plan, you would have the entire company summary, the type of business, the location, where you're going to sell the business, what facilities you might require. You would consider what are the products. In your market analysis summary, you're answering the question, who needs my business? What is the problem I'm solving? You've done the market research to prove that you have there's a need for your business or service, and that the potential customers out there, and you have a demographic that is large enough that it's going to support your business. Then you think about the implementation or the business operating plan. How are you going to operate the business? What regulations might impact you, licenses, permits that you might require to launch your business. And then lastly, the financial aspect of it. So all around the bookkeeping of the business. What are your sales projections? How will that impact your cash flow? You need to build all of these income statements so that you have a plan for how you're going to make money in your business. Oh, sorry. And then last of all, we come back to the executive summary. So in the same way that when you're writing a research paper or an essay, you have an abstract or a thesis at the outset, the executive summary, it comes first in the document, but it might be something you actually write last once you've laid out all the other components, and then it's your summary. So that if you're putting that in front of an investor or a business manager in a bank, they would read that quick summary and get a sense from that as to if they want to keep reading and to learn more about your business idea. So when it comes to your business plan, we look at these steps and reflect on the planning process. So as you're planning your business, you want to think of your goals, document what you know, identify the gaps in your knowledge, things you don't know, and then set out to do that market research to fill in the gaps and have the answers. You want to test your product idea or service. If you have an actual product, you can put it in front of people you know and trust and ask for their genuine feedback, and maybe pivot, change the offering a little bit depending on feedback. If it's a service, again, you want to do sort of focus group interviews to present your business service that you're offering and get some feedback on it. Some people refer to that as the fast fail, that you, rather than planning your business for months and months and months, that you get the idea out there and find out very quickly if you need to adjust, course correct, as the expression goes. Yes, you're planning your business. You need to have a go-to-market strategy. As I said with the candle business, how are you going to ramp up and get your business out there? Looking at your sales, your expenses, your cash flow, looking at financing needs, creating your action plan. And as I said, listen and learn and be a sponge, absorb feedback from people you trust, and make adjustments along the way. So for business plan templates, there are many blank business plan templates on the internet. You can find them anywhere. But to show you a few organizations here who offer a bit more support. So Business Development Bank of Canada has business plan templates with a little bit more support and guidance as you create that. Futurepreneur, if you're not familiar with Futurepreneur, they are government funded like we are. They offer many free programs, and their client is the young entrepreneur. So up to the age of 39, you would be eligible to become a client of Futurepreneur. They are a fantastic organization and have launched many, many great businesses. They also have financing to support people launching their business. So they're a tremendous organization, and they have a business plan template, which is available for free, even if you don't become a client. But it has, it's a little more interactive. It has some pop-up explanations, examples to help you with your business plan. So really encourage you to look into Futurepreneur to see what other free resources they have as well. So I'm sorry, I missed financing. Of course, when it comes to business plans, yes, you could connect with your local bank and banking advisor and see what resources they offer as well. We'll come back to this in a bit. But for now, let's look at consider business regulations. Where are you starting your business? How are you starting your business? So to register a business in Canada, and I will say, again, I don't want to go into too much detail because this is just meant to be introductory and not to take too much time, but many people launch a business, they launch a small business, and you don't actually have to register your business. If I, for example, had my candle making business and I was doing weekend markets, I don't actually have to register that my business with the government until I'm paying taxes. And you don't have to pay taxes on a business unless it is earning over 35,000 in a year. So under 35,000, any of the revenue I have with my candle making business, I'm going to report that in my personal income tax. And once you go over 35,000 in revenue in your business, then you would need to fully register your business with the government of Canada and start paying taxes. But when you're just starting out, if you're a sole proprietor, you might just consider, as you're registering your business, that you are a sole proprietor. You might be a partner. You might have a partner. So these two forms of business registration are fairly straightforward, low cost, easy to register. One thing to keep in mind from a liability perspective is that sole proprietor and partnership, you are one and the same with your business. And so any liability that comes to your business comes to you. Whereas a corporation, so a larger business incorporates, and it takes a bit more work, but when it comes to liability, you have the protection of being separated. Your corporation is a separate entity from your own, and thus you're sort of a little bit removed from liability and risk. So for people who are considering a business that is import-export, relating to food, children, education, vulnerable populations, maybe healthcare, there might be more risk involved there. So you might consider incorporating that business from the outset. So more on regulations and licenses, regardless of which structure you choose for registering your business. you want to consider what regulations and licenses affect your business. My candle making business, none. No, I don't think any regulations or requirements or restrictions. But if I am an accountant, if I want to become an accountant, I have to be registered with the CPA in Canada. If I am launching up, so this is more municipally, if I was launching a catering business, there are food safety guidelines that I would need to look into those municipal regulations and complete food safety certification requirements. Then this is just some resources. So the City of Toronto supports entrepreneurs through Enterprise Toronto. That's the name of the organization. And looking up Enterprise Toronto online, you would see all of the resources that the City of Toronto provides in terms of supports, as well as information about permits, regulations that you would need to consider. So next, we want to think about finding customers. Not to make the mistake of launching your business and thinking everybody would be interested in my product. I think people kind of practice the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your business is going to come from a fixed demographic, and 20% of your sales might come from other people who buy your product or service on a whim. But generally, you need to know the demographic, who is your target client, what motivates them, and why they would buy your business. So you can develop an avatar basically of your ideal customer and keep them in mind as you think of what motivates them, what are their problems, how do they buy, where do they buy, when they buy, and you keep that in mind as you plan your marketing to your customer. So you can develop customer lists by looking at widely available directories, databases that are available. There are online resources available from the Government of Canada, Statistics Canada, and what is it, Strategis? What I'm coming around to saying is that you don't really even need to know what resources and databases are available. If you go to the Toronto Public Library, whether it's the Reference Library or in the North York Library, they both have a very well-stocked business library to support small business in Toronto, and they have librarians who are dedicated specifically to supporting entrepreneurs, and they could talk to you about the government resources, database, websites, statistics, all the records that the government keeps about business in Canada, and you can use that as you do your market research to find your customers, know where they are, what postal code even they live in, so you can really do a lot of work there to fine tune and know that you have put yourself on the road to success by knowing who your client is. Then you develop a go-to-market strategy, and again, thinking of who your customer is. You build your go-to-market strategy by thinking about where they spend their time, what media did they consume, are they in a specific geographic area, do they do their buying online or offline, and how does that impact you as you are moving forward with planning your business. You can think of some examples. If I'm a business consultant and my business is management consulting, I don't necessarily need an Instagram page for that. Whereas if I have my candle making business, and that is very visual and that's about lifestyle, I would definitely have an Instagram page that had beautiful images of my candles, and so you need to know where your customers are and how you're going to market to them. So now we're going to talk about funding your business. And when we think about financing, I will say many of the people who go through our Entrepreneurship Connections program, and the majority of Canadian businesses start up with $5,000 or less. So initially they're self-employed and if you've heard the term bootstraps, they are just starting up with self-financing. So what did I say? Yeah. And as they grow the business, then they might pursue financing. And as you consider that, as you grow your business, a lot of people who finance small business will say that when you go to seek financing, you need to have some of your own investment, but not all, so that you don't want to put your entire life savings into a business idea. Because that's a real exposure to risk. But if you've got a good business plan and you can go to a financing, then you've got some of your own investment, and you seek some financing to support and help you grow your business. So as you think about that, things to consider: what are your main costs, your initial investment? Do you have large equipment purchases that you would need to make? Or if you will be a bricks and mortar location, you'll have that to consider rent or retrofitting the space for your business. All of those considerations that come in. Whereas my candle making business that I'm self-starting from my own house, that's pretty low. That's a pretty low startup cost. And if I'm joining pop-up markets initially to get feedback on my candle making business and see what the market is like and the competition is like, rather than renting a space and committing to that, I'm exposing myself to less risk if I start up small. So sources of financing, as I said, most pursue financing themselves and just start up. Or you might look to friends and family or other business. If you're looking for more money, you might be looking into what we're calling angel investors. If you want to take a snapshot of that website, that is a website dedicated to angel investors in Canada. Venture capital, this would apply more to businesses that are looking for very large investments. And that might be venture capital organizations or an organization like BDC, for example. I don't really think it has a whole lot of bearing here to talk about going public or, crowdsource your funding, different ways of pursuing financing. But as I said, for most people, it's self-financing, friends and family, or maybe smaller loans from microfinancing, which I believe is on the second page. Oh, no, next one. So as I said, Business Development Bank of Canada is there. It's a bank to support small business in Canada. Maybe I have this backwards. So we're looking at sort of the bigger end. So if you were looking for more than $50,000 investment, you might become a Business Development Bank of Canada client. If you are looking for, or if you're involved in export, you might look into Export Development Bank of Canada, also a Crown Corporation. But I want to direct you to these lenders that are more, this is more about micro lending. So I already talked to you about Futurepreneur. That is an organization that has free supports for small business under the age of 39 years old, and they have access to funding. Very frequently, BDC co-funds, so that you might get 5,000 or 10,000 from Futurepreneur, and maybe BDC matches that. That often happens. BDC also works with Alterna and Access Community Capital Fund. I've got the website there. I'm sorry, I don't have the full name of the organization, but Access Community Capital Fund offers, again, free resources and supports and webinars and part-time programs for those launching a business. And they also have the backing of Alterna Finance, which is a credit union, and they offer microloans at maybe it's only $1,000 that you need, or 5 or 10. So depending on how much you need, you might look to those organizations as well. So think about keeping your startup costs low, not to make too much of a commitment or to invest too much of your own personal finance. as I said, testing your products, starting small, getting out there, getting feedback, keep your costs low. Don't buy anything that you could lease instead. Use incubator spaces or shared office spaces to keep all your costs low. I think I mentioned all this. Yeah, and rather than committing to full-time employees and everything that involves, to work with people part-time or pay commission as you're starting up. So, money doesn't grow a business, customers do. I have a page here that is resources. If you want to take a photo just to get that. And I think I've mentioned Business Development Bank of Canada, the Toronto Public Library. If you've never set foot in a Toronto library, it's going to be challenging in the short term because they've had a cyber hack, so they're a bit hampered right now. But generally speaking, to walk into the Toronto Public Library, it is not just books. You can book studios to record a music video. They have green screen labs that you can use. They have tremendous resources for small business. And as I said, you just contact them and get make a one-on-one booking with one of their small business advisors, and you would just be astonished at what level of detail you can find from online resources. And Enterprise Toronto, as I said, is the City of Toronto support for small business. Okay, I'm going to move ahead. And now I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the programs at Access. So if all of this excites you, and you're interested in starting a business, then I am happy to tell you about the entrepreneurship programs at Access. The core program we have that is a full-time 4-week program is called Entrepreneurship Connections, and it is a program for newcomers to Canada who are permanent residents, protected persons, or Canadian, Ukrainian assistance for emergency travel permit holders. We also have, along the lines of the Q8 permit holders, we do have a boot camp evening program delivered in Ukrainian for Ukrainians who are interested in starting or bringing a business to Canada. And then we have the pre-arrival program. So this is a program offered to permanent residents in the months before they come to Canada when they have received clearance from IRCC, Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, that their permanent residency is almost complete and they're welcome to start taking pre-arrival services. I'm going to talk mostly about the Entrepreneurship Connections program. That is our core program. So it is a 4-week program, intensive, Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. It's offered every other month, basically, so 6 times throughout the year, and is followed by a year of support in terms of checking in, mentoring support, invitation to any events that we have, networking, pop-up markets, networking events, speed mentoring, things like that. But the core program itself is focusing on everything we just talked about, the importance of business planning and creating a business plan, the consideration of who is your target client, market research, the legal aspects of starting your business and how to register your business, all of the financing side of things, how to operate your business, cash flow, sales forecast, and then the opportunity to meet one-on-one with a business coach to receive feedback on the draft of your business plan and get feedback on your business. And the program culminates in our clients pitching their business to a panel of judges. So if you've ever watched Dragon's Den, think of a kinder version of Dragon's Den, in that you get to pitch your business in 5 minutes and get feedback from judges from places like the BDC, Futurepreneur, Access Community Capital Fund. We often include alumni, give feedback, so from the entrepreneurship sector. To be eligible for the program, you would be a permanent resident, a protected person, or a Q8 permit holder, as I mentioned. The language requirement is really more for your comfort level. It's Canadian Language Benchmark Level 5, which is really just your comfort level because the program is delivered in English, perhaps by people who speak quickly like myself. And then we look for people coming into the program to have a viable business idea. We meet with people one-on-one and talk to them about their business idea and give them feedback and go from there. So you do not need to have a launched business. But if you've done some market research, you're developing a really a good idea, an idea that you're passionate about, and you're interested in launching a business in the next year, you'd be an ideal candidate for our program. Some of the program partners with whom we deliver. And I think here we just get into talking about what we ask you to bring to the table and what support you're going to receive from us. And I think with that, I've just got some testimonials. I think maybe I'll just show one from a participant who was in our program a couple years ago. And I think with that, I've sort of reached my time. So I think I want to wind down and see what questions there might be.
Thank you, Catherine, for that excellent presentation. I learned a lot. And we actually have an entrepreneurship small business column on our website. If you go to Money and Finance, and we just published an article from BDC, one of the writers there. We have a lot of great articles, first-person entrepreneurship experiences, and also from organizations. So that was a very, very comprehensive presentation. We've had a number of questions asking if the presentation is going to be available. This video is being recorded. This webinar is being recorded, will be posted on our website and our YouTube channel. So let's get to as many questions as we can. I'm thinking maybe we can get to like 2 or 3 questions. Okay, so can we do multiple services with one registration? I guess they mean, can you have multiple businesses with one registration number?
That's interesting. As far as our program goes, our program is very intensive. And, if you're sitting with a business idea, we ask you to do spreadsheets and cash flow on your own business. So people coming into our program, we look for them to focus on one business idea. As far as registering your business, many people have just a number for their business registration. And if you're importing a variety of products, for example, I think that could all be held within that. But I think if you have different products and services, that might be a different registration required. I'm sure I don't know exactly where to go to look for that would be looking into those registration websites.
Yes, and honestly, I've spoken to I don't know what they call them, the government small business services, where they give you the HST, GST number, and
Yes.
they're really helpful. They just call them with this question, and they should be able to provide you with information, or you could try that. Just call that number, just Google government. Who would we Google? Like Small Business Canada government, and you will find a phone number you can call. That's another way to do this.
Yeah.
So. Well, this is, obvious, but I'm reluctant to take a loan now since the interest rates are so high. Do you have any advice for me?
Yeah, well, maybe you've answered your own question in listening to this presentation, that many businesses start very small, don't go into a big business loan. I think that if I was starting a small business and I needed some money, I think I would look into the Access Community Capital Fund, as I mentioned, that offers microloans. They have a series of loans available, whether you're a low income entrepreneur, if you are a women entrepreneur, if you're a Black entrepreneur, if you are if you're launching a business and you require tools for a trades business, or if you're an accountant and you require the registration with the CPA, if you have those costs of doing business, they have different loans at different levels depending on what you need. And as I said, they often get a co-loan with BDC, that they would go in that together. So I think I would go that route. If I was starting a small business, I would look at Access Community Capital Fund, or if I was with Futurepreneur, they have financing for their small business entrepreneurs as well.
Okay, great. So another question is your support for people in the GTA only, or can we open a business anywhere in Canada?
Oh, okay. So we do have people join our information sessions, and during the course of the session find that they're not eligible for our program. Maybe they're a Canadian citizen and they're not eligible for our program, but we do offer resources and referrals for people who couldn't take our program. So the blessing of the pandemic, of course, is that all of our courses went online. So we do take people into our program who are outside of the GTA, which means we've had people from Waterloo and Sarnia and Guelph able to join our program. That's great. We can take those. We do kind of focus on Ontario because a lot of the times the examples, the resources that are given by our subject matter expert facilitators are within Ontario. And sometimes, depending on the business you're starting, permits, regulations might be affected by the province that you're in. So having said that, we've definitely had people who are outside of the GTA, mostly within Ontario. The rare time we can take somebody beyond our program, but I think what we'd be more inclined to do would be to connect you to an entrepreneurship organization within your own city. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to ask you two quick questions that have come in, and then we'll go to the next speaker. So one, how much does the Entrepreneurship Connection program cost?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say it. It's a free program.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, great.
we are government funded. We're funded by Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada to deliver our program to permanent residents, protected persons, or Q8 holders. And for that reason, we are free to those organizations. Any other entrepreneurship organizations that are also funded by IRCC tend to be targeted to those. If you're not eligible for our program, there are, if you're a citizen, for example, we would direct you to the City of Toronto or Access Community Capital Fund, but our program's free.
Okay, great. And the last question, is a social enterprise eligible? Could it be a nonprofit?
We have taken people with nonprofit for sure.
Okay, but it would differ, right? Because a nonprofit needs a board, it needs a lot different kinds of
Yes.
support, and yeah, okay.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Different considerations. But then in one-on-one sessions with a business advisor, then the business advisor would give some specific supports on that.
Okay. So Catherine, thank you so much for that presentation. Lots more questions, but we'll have to move on. Thank you for telling me that the library has had a cyber attack, because maybe my fines will be like forgiven.
Yes, yeah, totally
Okay.
waived. Yeah, I don't know how they're keeping track of their books, but fines have been waived. I think they already were waived. Yeah.
After COVID, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Catherine. Next up to join us on the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series for internationally educated professionals looking to start your own business in Canada, that's offered in partnership with Access Employment, is Paula Felix. Welcome, Paula.
Hi.
So, yeah, just a little about Paula. She's a business advisor for the self-employment program at Douglas College. Any questions, once again, you can type it in the Q&A or the chat box, and we will get to it at the end. So thank you, Paula. You can go ahead.
Hello. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Ramya. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'm very excited to be part of this conversation. I will get my PowerPoint as well started, so I'll just share my screen. So just one moment. All right, and there we go. So you should be seeing my full screen now.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So again, hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, whatever part of Canada you're in. I am in BC, so it's still morning for myself here. And great to be here today. As Rami introduced me, I'm Paula Felix, and I'm the business advisor with the self-employment program, a program very similar to the program that Catherine was talking about, just that we are in BC, British Columbia. So there's a lot of similarity between the programs. What our program does, the self-employment, it's similar. It helps people that have a business idea. And they just don't know and need some guidance on how to take it to reality. So our program is 11 months long. And we work with you from the beginning of exploring the idea, developing a full business plan, financial projections, and then going into full launch. So a little bit that you don't know about myself is that I am also an immigrant. 15 years ago, I set foot on Canadian soil for the first time, and I came with big dreams and plans, and I had my life plan for the next 10 years. But as you might experience it, maybe some of you right now, um, those plans don't work as you had thought, because as a new immigrant, I didn't know what I didn't know. So there was a lot of things that I just simply didn't know about Canadian society, about the regulations, about the education credential transfer. So my journey as an immigrant took so many different paths. I had to restart my education. I had to change career paths. And here I am today doing something that I didn't think 10 years ago I'll be doing, but I'm so grateful to be able to do that. And what I want to also add here before I start into the topic today is that I'm really happy that Catherine brought in the BDC, because before joining Douglas College, I worked for 4 years for the BDC. So I did work for the supporting Canadian entrepreneurs with a small business, and 100% it is part of my presentation. There's a lot of good resources. So without further delay, let's get into my short presentation today. I will be covering similar topics that Catherine shared, but I would really try to focus a little bit on maybe regulations in the Western region in British Columbia, and also looking a little bit on the earlier stage of starting a business. So maybe if you are at the stage where you're still gathering a lot of information and trying to find out whether your business idea is something that would be viable, something that is worth investing a lot of time and resources into, or maybe you need to do a shift. So I'm really going to start focusing on really on the viability of your business idea. So I have talked in the past decade with so many entrepreneurs, some of them immigrants coming from another country that have run successful businesses for years outside of Canada. And then they came to Canada and they're trying to run the same business, but it's a bit more difficult because the market is different, the market regulations are different, and even the market demand is different. So the first step, if you're considering opening your own business, first step that you should ask yourself is this business marketable? Is there a demand for these services or products here in Canada in the market that I'm looking to open? So that would be the first thing you should start researching and looking around. And I think Catherine already mentioned, but looking at directly getting that information from your target market would be the best. So think of distributing surveys to people, friends, to public spaces, and seeing whether there is an appetite and a demand for that products and service. And then the next really question to if there is a demand, but you have to ask yourself, can I be profitable? Can I make a profit opening this business? Because there might be a lot of cost associated with running the business that you are just simply not aware of yet. So that's why it's important to find out. So a simple example, very simple example that I would like to give is, let's say that I'm thinking, and I talk to a lot of people that saying, I can open a business, basically e-commerce business, where I import some goods, just daily consumer goods, gadgets, from Asia, from China, and I buy the product. I'll give an example. I buy the product at $1 and I sell it for $1.50. Therefore, I make a profit. In theory, yes, there is a profit of 50 cents per product. However, when we try to look at it as a business, scalable, in order to for myself to make a profit, how many of those items I would have to sell for me to even make $2,000? I would have to sell 4,000 items to make $2,000. But out of that $2,000, not all of that will be profit, because if I'm looking at importing the goods, I have to pay shipping fees. I have to pay import tax. And also, if I'm looking at selling that large of a volume, I would probably have to order inventory bulks to last me about, 4 to 6 months. So if I put those numbers together, over $20,000 20,000 pieces of this. So again, I would probably need a storage place. And then I would have to spend money on paying for e-commerce, for marketing. So what I'm adding all these things is that at the end of the day, the 50 cents, what it is the profit, the gross profit margin, but all of that I would have to pay it into my operating expenses and bringing the product in Canada and being able to store it and then sell it to market. So at the end of the day, I might do all this work and not have anything left. So it's a simple, again, it's a very simplistic exercise to really think of what costs are associated to ensure that you can truly be profitable and make a profit. So that's really the main questions for the viability. Is there a demand? Can I sell this in Canada? Would I have a customer for it? And can I be profitable? The second part really is the market research. And again, I'm keeping it simplistic, but this is very, very important that you do due diligence for the market research. There's three main criteria that I always encourage my clients to look at. One of them, who's your competition? So market research is, I guarantee that whatever business idea you have, even though it might not be exactly the same, there would be something similar in the market. So there might be a competition for it. Or maybe you might find that there's a niche, there's a gap, and that's the whole idea of doing that research. So find out who's your competition, what competitors are in the market that are selling already a similar product or services, and find out what they're doing well so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Another benefit of researching your competition is that you can actually find business models that are successful, and you can learn a lot from them and borrow what they're doing well and then make it your own, add your own twist to it. So we always say we don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there's something out there that it's functional and it's successful, that's a good, solid, proven business model. Second part is, so market competition is the first one. The next one is the target market. And I believe Catherine also said it's very important. I cannot highlight enough how important it is to define a target market. Because I worked in sales, right? I worked in banking and business financing for 10 years before doing this. So I know that to make sales, to do sales, it's hard. It's a lot of hard work. So, as a business owner, if you properly research your target market and define your target market with a narrow scope, you find out who's that ideal customer. What need do they have? Because if you know what need they have and what they need, you can come there and solve that problem for them. So rather than having to make a sales to convince people to buy your product, you actually just go to the market and you inform them, I have the need the need that you have. I have the solution for your problem. So it'll be easier to make a sale when you have a clear defined target market. You already know what they value, what they need, what problem they have, and you come with that solution. Then it will be much easier for you to sell your products and services. So very important, define your target market and do the research and find out who's the ideal customer for you, because that will really dictate your the type of marketing you'll do. It will dictate the language that you're going to use in your marketing. It will even dictate the brand, or influence it. It'll influence your brand, because the whole idea is you want to create your company to be that solution to a customer, to a target market. And then the third part in the market research is industry. So this is one, and as a new immigrant to Canada, this is the part that I know myself as an immigrant. I'm still learning every day about new regulations and legislation. So if you're not familiar, you're most likely, obviously, especially if you're new at starting a business, it's very important that you do some research about the industry that you're about to enter. Because in Canada, and again, depends on the province you're in, but everything is very regulated, and there's a lot of rules and legislation and certification that you need depending on the industry that you're entering. So, for instance, if you're looking to open a restaurant, the food industry, it's food and health, both of those apply, very regulated. So it's very important to know all the rules, regulations, certifications that apply, so then you can plan accordingly for your business, get all the certifications you need, get all your systems in place, and then ensure that you don't run into obstacles as you start to open a business. And to this, I want to share a real story that I know of, an entrepreneur that I know he's a big advocate for sharing his knowledge with you. He's an immigrant from Brazil. His name is Flavio, and he's a business owner here in BC. And he had this cheese recipe, Brazilian cheese recipe, that he used to make as a child with his grandmother. And one day he thought of why not opening this and making into a business. So he did some research and he started developing the recipe at home, and he started making it at home in the kitchen. He got the food safety certification, and he even went and got a commissioner kitchen industrial, and started to make it. And he just was ready to go to the market with this cheese after spending about 6 to 8 months of developing all this and getting all this certification. And he needed one last certification from the Fraser Health, from the Health Authority Canada, to be able to get the final business license. And when he went to get that, he was informed, and again, it's something he wasn't aware, that because it was the dairy, although he followed all the food safety rule in the certification, the dairy industry had an extra regulation in British Columbia, and anytime to create anything out of dairy, you actually needed a dairy, I don't know the name of it, but basically a dairy certificate, basically. So he spent about 6 to 8 months developing all this, was ready to go to market, had all this cheese ready to go to market. He had to stop everything, go to school for 8 months, and obtain that dairy food manufacturing certificate. And after that, he was able to continue. But again, this is a real life scenario of what can happen if you don't do your proper due diligence to understand your industry, because each industry is very specific, so it's important to start looking at that. Now, next, I'm going to move to sustainability. What does it mean? How do you know if your business is sustainable? Well, first of all, you have to think whether whatever service or product you're looking to sell, is this going to be something seasonal, that only sells, for instance, at Christmas time, or only will sell in the summer? Because if it is, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's important to know, would that be enough to provide you enough income for the rest of the year? Or what else could you do? Think of alternative revenue streams, so then you can have revenue coming not just in the winter at Christmas time, but also in the summer. And to that, I'll give you an example. We have a local farm here in British Columbia, and their business model is it's an attraction. So it's an attraction, and you pay into to go in and see the attraction, and that's their revenue model. But they started being advertised for the Tulip Festival. So we know the tulip is just a month and a half in the year. So obviously it's not sustainable just for a month in the year. So what they do is they started doing Tulip Festival in the spring. Then in the middle of the summer, they're doing the Sunflower Festival. Then in the fall, they're doing the corn maze festival. And then in the winter, they're also doing some winter Christmas market and Christmas fair attraction. So you can see how they took the model, they realized that okay, it's not sustainable just to have revenue for a month and a half of the year, and they started to see how can they adapt it to other season. To other businesses, it would be something completely different, but it's important to think whether it's seasonal and what can you do. And also another part for sustainability is think of whether there are factors outside of your control that it might influence your business. So I know there's been a few questions about import export. So if you're importing or exporting, you have to see, are you dependent of currency fluctuations? Because if you are, that's outside of your control. So you have to start thinking, how can you protect yourself against that and how they would influence your business. Um, Other thing to consider is your business weather related and anything that could happen. So really start thinking of anything that might be factors outside of control and what can you do to mitigate and to protect yourself and your business against those factors. All you can do is just trying to plan ahead. And again, I worked in business lending, and one of the way we assess a business loan, we're looking what are the risks with a business and how can we mitigate it. And some risk can be mitigated and some of them cannot be, but it's still important to know them and acknowledge them. And at least you are prepared to identify them and then make quickly decision if they do end up happening versus catching you by surprise. All right, so this is the most important, I would say, the 3 points for looking at business viability. And then I have a few more steps that I want to share with you. So after you check the viability, you did all your due diligence. All right, you're kind of ready now to say, yeah, this is something it's worth investing my time in. So the next part is really looking at your business concept. So starting to kind of piece it all together, just like a puzzle. And what I always like to challenge my clients to do is really think about your business concept and see what is unique about it. So again, if you've done your due diligence about your market research, you'll find out that there's competition, there's other businesses out there. So one way to get a competitive advantage is to really come with a unique aspect about your business concept to make it more attractive and to obviously make more sales. And also you have to think, can I maximize my profit? Can I do anything about my business model so I can get extra profit? One example I can give you is I talked to some entrepreneurs that wanted to work in the IT business, and they're basically website developer and IT network support. So a way to maximize profit that they thought of is okay, they can offer the product of I will create a website for a client, but if they stop at just creating the website, it's a one-time sale. It's a one-time sale, and then they have to go and get another client. So what they came up with a model of creating the website, it's one-time sale, and then managing the website and offering some sort of support services, and they package it in such a way to be attractive for the clients. Maybe the initial website sale wasn't as high as the competition, but then the package for the ongoing maintenance would make up for that, because then it was ongoing revenue that keeps coming. And by the time they add 10 clients, let's say they sell 10 website packages, but then they also have 10 ongoing clients with the ongoing service that they offer, which really helps to stabilize that incoming of revenue. So again, think of your business, and this is one what I love about working with the entrepreneurs. Use your creativity. This is the part where you really can use that creativity and make it unique, because that's what will attract customers, and it will really help with having a stable revenue stream. And then the last two parts, really, the business plan and financial feasibility, it's really once you define that concept, then you're really going to look into getting it more formalized. So creating a formal business plan, very important. Catherine mentioned it already. There's a lot of free templates, which I'm going to share some resources with you as well. So you don't have to create a template. You can get good quality template and just fill in the information there. And I cannot stress as well how important it is, because rather than starting doing something and then learning, and then you might make some mistakes, or realize that you went on a path that doesn't take you anywhere, but you already invested time, resources, and maybe money. It's better to just first do the planning, do the strategy, plan it, find out everything, and then you just have a list, of plan, and you execute it. And then the financial feasibility, again, you do not have to be a person that has a finance degree, or that you have to be very proficient at creating spreadsheets. I always encourage my clients, when I start working with them, when they start looking at a business model, what I always recommend is start putting numbers. So simplistic, think of how many sales you would have to make in a month, and how much, depending on your pricing, how much revenue that will give you in the month, and start looking at your cost model. What about expenses? What expenses will you have? And again, we tend to underestimate expenses until we get started, and then we realize it's more than we ever thought, and then the stress, the pressure comes up. So really, that's where the market research comes in, and you have to realize what sort of expenses will you have with your business. A big one, and again, it's the initial expenses. Think of getting all the business licenses, all the bookkeeping software, all the materials you need to run the business, the marketing expenses that adds up. And then, of course, if you do need any specialized equipment to operate the business, that obviously it's a larger expense. So really start to think, what's your startup cost to begin with? And then what's your cost model in the long term? So then you can have an idea what's the minimum revenue you need to do in order to at least cover your costs and be at break even. And then everything after that, extra, that would be where your profit comes in, right? So that, again, you can find a lot of templates and models to do financial projections. And then what do you next? Really, what comes next is basically you've done everything. You plan, you have a business plan, you have a financial projection, you know what your goals are, what you aim. So you launch your business. It's all about sales. So this is where the sales comes in, and I cannot stress enough. For some of you, sales might come easier if you have a background in sales, whereas for other, you might be more creative and passionate about your business, but the sales might not come as good. Very important to prepare yourself and be willing to get outside of the comfort zone, and know that the first, realistically, 6 to 12 months of a new business, I always like to do the 80-20. 80% of the time will be spent prospecting, networking, and trying to find customers, doing sales. The other 20% of the time will be spent doing all your admin work. So anything with planning, because you've done already the business plan, so you spend the time on that. So once you launch your business, first 12 months, it's all about putting the work. And it's a model that works. I have worked with amazing entrepreneurs who have reached absolutely amazing milestones. They have won awards for Business of the Year within their first 12 months of being operation. They have joined Chamber of Commerce and been put on the board. So again, it's 100% possible, but very important to go out there and do the prospecting and the sales. And the last part that maybe you never thought of or didn't realize, I highly encourage you to find a mentor or partner or support group, because entrepreneurship is such a complex journey. There's so much information, and you'll never know it all. Nobody knows it all. Even successful entrepreneurs that have been in business for 20 years, they still don't know it all, and they have a good support group. So in Canada, we're really blessed to have so many supporting business association and groups. I always recommend. I have been personally involved with the Chamber of Commerce. So in every city and province they are chambers of commerce. They have public events. They have networking groups. We also have nonprofit organizations such as Small Business BC, that's in British Columbia, and Ontario. There's the one that Catherine shared. Um, and so all of these organization, business groups, business networking groups that you can find, even events posted on Eventbrite for sometimes industry specific. I recommend you to start going there, meeting people, because one, not only you will meet people that might become partners or refer for your business, but you'll have access to specific information, valuable information. So I always recommend find a mentor, whether that's a peer, whether that's a banker, an accountant, or somebody in these business support groups. So the next part, and let me just see how we are with the time. Do I still have time? Yes, I have a little bit, so I'll finish very quickly. Another part that really comes in as an entrepreneur, and I don't know, depends of the country where you came from. um, we offer ask ourselves if I need formal education to open a business. So really, to the question, if you need formal education to open a business, the answer is yes and no, because it's very industry specific. So of course, as a business owner, it's important to bring some expertise and credibility. So to have a background in the industry that you're entering as an entrepreneur, but you don't necessarily need a formal education like a degree in certain topic, unless it's a specific industry. What it's important to know about the formal education, it's more about the municipal and provincial requirements. So for example, I mentioned before, food industry, or working with people where you host people at your business, whether provide some classes. It's important to know about the occupational first aid, might be a requirement for your business. Food safety certification, handling hazardous material. Again, it's very industry specific. So this is where, if you learn about your industry and you're looking what requirements are there, this is where you'll find out. And now, in terms of additional formal education, it really depends if it's something that will give you a competitive advantage in a saturated market, or again, it's a requirement. So I'm not sure about Ontario. I believe it has something similar, but in British Columbia, all trades are heavily regulated. So if you want to become self-employed as a plumber or electrician, it's important to have that trade certification, and that's a very regulated, specific education that you need to get and permit. Same thing if you want to open a daycare or a Montessori daycare. So education, childcare industry, again, regulated. You need a specific certification and education from Canada. For specific personal services, such as a registered massage therapist, again, if you want to operate as that, you would have to get the certification. And then when it comes to the professional services like bookkeeper, accountant, engineer, marketing, all of those also as well usually have a certification requirement for that industry. Okay. Some resources additional, Catherine already shared a lot of them. So we are overlapping, because you see these are the go-to. These are very important. But I want to again emphasize again, the go-to resources for you, especially when you're looking for forms, templates, and regulation, should be government sources. So number one, go on provincial and federal government websites, whether that's the government of Ontario, a government of BC, Ministry of BC, or even the Canada website, right? The Government of Canada website. That's where you'll find a lot of information about regulation, industry regulations. Futurepreneur Canada, 100%. I used to be a mentor with them, and very good organization. And they do provide some small loans up to $60,000, and they do work with BDC as well. So and they offer not only financing but free forms, and they have a mentorship program. So they also offer mentorship. Small business centers in Ontario, and in BC, we have Small Business BC. So that's another nonprofit business organization for support. BDC, I mean, I know that website from the heart. 100%. It's the number one resources. Their crown corporation and their mandate is to support small businesses. So all the free content they put there, it's high quality and it's for everybody to use. So 100% encourage it to go use it. Development Canada would be your go-to if you're looking for import export. So it starts with there, and then you might have to go to Trade Commissioner Canada for, after that, but start with EDC. And another one that hasn't been mentioned yet, and if you are a woman entrepreneur, there's another government program initiative called Women Enterprise Organizations of Canada. In BC, they're called WeBC. In Ontario, might be a different affiliate. But if you go under Women Enterprise Organization of Canada, you shall find it. And what it is, it's both business funding and business mentorship for women-owned businesses, or that at least 51% ownership. So again, another good organization. Immigration and settlement support nonprofits, also a good startup. There's a trade accelerator program. If you're looking to go into import export, just search trade accelerator program offered from the EDC, and basically it's a coaching and training program where it'll give you more guidance and access to resources to start export import. And then of course business of commerce and board of trade, I mentioned all of that. And then the last part, which I know Catherine already shared a little bit into, but I want to give a little bit more from the inside of somebody who worked in business finance. And I had a lot of people as a startup and entrepreneur applying for capital. I know that as a new immigrant, there are some extra barriers to entry to get financing for a business, because either you don't have enough credit history yet, or maybe you don't have the permanent residence status, and so there are extra barriers. However, I can recommend a few steps what you can do to kind of build yourself to be financeable in the future. Start building credit history. So as soon as you have the PR status, start getting a credit card and building credit history, because that will be very important to start being able to access credit. And start, as I said, going to events and talk to peers and network, because you might find out about new opportunities that you didn't know before. Sometimes there's a lot of extra small financing grants or program that are not really marketed a lot. So it's very limited information that you can only find out if you are in those business circles. And then the next one is find a mentor, a business mentor who can help you plan and guide, because again, you don't know what you don't know. So having a bit of guidance, planning, then you can at least get to where you want to go. And what I can share with you in terms of successful stories of entrepreneurs that were new to Canada and started is, yes, it often starts from personal savings. And what I can encourage you is think of starting small, a small operation with a small startup cost, and build your business from there. Because the reality is that if you are looking to start a business that needs $200,000 as a startup, a restaurant, it's a good example of it because it does require a lot. The reality is, if you're a recent permanent resident, you have limited credit history, and it's a brand new restaurant, not many banks, and it's not very likely that you'll get approved. Again, I've worked in the field, and it's just startup businesses are very high risk. So always recommend start small if you can, and then you can go from there. And I think, Rami, I'm going over time. No.
You can have another minute. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're gonna.
All right.
Yeah,
Another
absolutely.
minute. All right. So I'll just finish up with this. Family and friends, very good to have support and start with that. There's potential to get investors or partners in your business, but just understand what it means before you go that step. Because especially if you get a partner, you have to decide whether you're going to give up some of the decision-making choices from your company and shares. So that will have implications. So important to understand what that means. And a few personal lending, if it's available, and a few micro loans that I can tell you about is Futurepreneur Canada has up to $60,000. Women Enterprise Center, WBC in British Columbia, they have up to 200,000, but again, you have to still go through the regular credit applications, but they're very supportive of women entrepreneur. And then there are certain microloans, such as in Vancouver, in British Columbia, we have Scotiabank and Credit Union Van City that has some microloans up to $50,000. But again, I just want to say, as a new startup, it's a risk even for yourself to take on a big debt as you start a business. I encourage you to start small and build from there. And with that said, I'm just going to say, of course, next step would be just launch your business and follow your dream. And I am going to be finished, but I'm going to leave on the screen while we take on the question. I'm going to leave again the list of the resources that you can take a picture of and follow if you want to take a look after. Yeah, so I'm all done. Thank you very much. And we can take some questions if we have time. Rama, you're mute.
That was a great presentation. Thank you. A lot of great details. And also, thanks for sharing the success stories. It's always good to hear about people who've made it happen. Great resources here as well. Take a photo like Paula said, or, we'll have this webinar uploaded on our website and on our YouTube channel. So let's go through at least a couple of questions. So when will you be starting your program and how can we apply for it? Is your program online? There are quite a few questions about your program. I'm guessing that the information is on the link you shared to your website.
Yeah, so the link was shared right under Douglas College Self-Employment Program is the last one right here, but I can just briefly share that the program, it's a continuous intake. So the program works as one-on-one business consulting. So it's quite different than a cohort program, and it's continuous intake. So it starts at any time, and it's a combination of in-person and online learning and business coaching. And the last question that I can detail to add to it, it can also be free as it qualifies for a grant from the British Columbia Ministry, accessible through Work BC. However, there's eligibility criteria. So accessible through Work BC for those people that can be eligible, or it can be as a fee payer program for anyone who's interested. So more information on the link here, or you can email me and I can provide more information about it.
That's great. Thank you. So this is a very specific question that's come in.
Yeah.
I can't register a company at home. It's not allowed to register with a PO box. What virtual office providers are safe or trusted? Do you have any recommendations?
So usually when we have clients that use their lawyers or their accountant's address to put as their business address. But again, you would have to get their consent first and confirm that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And there are a couple of other questions. Can people email you directly, Paula? Do you have
Yep,
an email account you can share?
absolutely. And I'll put it right here on the screen. And actually, there's the email, and also you can take a scan of the QR code and then you can have it. So there we go.
Thank you so much. So please write to Paula directly. There are questions about the program. There are questions about eligibility. Can somebody who's on a work permit apply? So there are a few questions. So maybe you could just answer that last question. Can somebody with a work permit apply?
For the program, so anybody can apply for the program. It's available to anybody. However, you would have to confirm with your immigration status that you're allowed to open a business, so that it's something that it's regards to immigration. And in terms of the funding, the eligibility criteria for the funding in British Columbia to access the training for free, you would have to be permanent resident. So having a work permit would not make you eligible for the grant from the government, but you can still apply for the program and open your business pending that doesn't interfere with your immigration status.
Yeah. Okay, great. So thank you so much again, Paula, for all that advice and information. So
My
we're
pleasure.
gonna thank you. So we're gonna wrap up here. Thank you for attending this web conference that was has been offered in partnership with Access Employment. And of course, special thanks to our speakers, Catherine and Paula. It was wonderful to have you here. As I've said earlier, this is being posted on our website and on our YouTube channel and social media channels for you to rewatch or to share with friends and people in your community. If you have any questions, you can write to the speakers directly, or you can send us an email at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So this was our last webinar for 2023. So stay tuned for our list of webinars for 2024. If you want to rewatch any webinar, they're all listed on our website. So thank you and have a fabulous day.